Good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. Tonight we'll be talking once again on a topic that is very dear to me, which is Cambodia, being part of the larger ASEAN economic community. Cambodia, a country that have ratified the Charter of the ASEAN. The ASEAN Charter commit the region to be an integrated economic base, with free flow good service and people, skilled people. But underlining the whole thing is the notion of a rule-based community, a rule-based society where there is a level of transparency, there's a level of equal playing field, and ultimately, a charter that motivates, economic actor to behave in certain way to make the region competitive. And in the context of Cambodia, Cambodia is also a very, active member of ASEAN. And how do we make Cambodia adhering to the ASEAN Charter, living the ASEAN spirit? And today I have the pleasure to have a good friend of mine who is the business editor of Phnom Penh Post, Stuart Becker. Stuart, welcome again to the show.
Thanks for having me, Siphana. It's good to be with you.
Yes. So I set the context already about that. And I think it's important that we bear in mind that Cambodia will have to attract capital to come to the country. And capital, we always talk about it, the capital is very shy. Right. Capital will migrate to places where there's security. What do you make out of that?
It's flighty. Capital's very flighty. And it's very much in Cambodia's interest to attract foreign direct investment, as you know.
Yes.
But foreign direct investment will go where it thinks it can get returns.
Yes.
And also there are people who lead funds who are sympathetic with Cambodia. They know Cambodia went through a troubled past. They know
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And if they can help people by investing here, they will. Most people have a heart.
Yes.
So how do we create the conditions? How do we create the rule-based conditions?
Yes.
For this capital to choose to come here instead of places that are competing for that capital.
Yes.
Other emerging markets in the neighborhood, Myanmar, that's also an attractive destination.
Yes.
So we have to be mindful that there are other places for capital to go.
Yeah.
So it's larger than our own mere pocketbook. If you're a Cambodian patriot and you want to do the very best for Cambodia, the best thing that you can do is make sure that everybody here in your country behaves according to a set of rules, and to be able to say to them when they step outside the line, hey, please don't do that because the capital will fly away.
Exactly. And I can contextualize in a larger framework in the sense that, you see, Cambodia is being a member of ASEAN. We ratify many of ASEAN agreements, like the comprehensive investment agreement, like the ASEAN framework on trade and service, like the ASEAN trade in goods. All these agreements have one fundamental common denominator, which is the transparency, which is the like I say, the rule-based approach, where for the business community, for the economic actor, they know exactly what it is expected of. I'm not talking about commercial risk. I'm not talking about doing business where you may lose money because you make a bad business decision. But I'm talking about the rule base where you know that when you could arrive at a port of a country, you know that custom will behave according to the rule, right? When you apply for a export license, you know that the official will issue that export license based on a certain open criteria. So this is the starting point of what I see a rule base. What do you think of that?
Yes, I agree with you completely. That of all the characteristics of the ASEAN free trade area of 2015, that's one of the best characteristics.
Yes.
The characteristic that everybody is subject to the same set of rules.
Yes.
It's like media freedom. Siphana, if you believe in free speech, you have to believe in someone saying Siphana is no good. You have to believe in that. Otherwise, you don't believe in free speech.
Yes.
Similarly, what's true for others is also true for us.
Yes.
So if we as travelers go to Vietnam or Indonesia or any other part of ASEAN, we would expect to be treated similarly.
Exactly.
Therefore, we have to behave the same way. Now, that's a good force.
Yes.
And it's not only true in economics, it's true in philosophy and other ways, education too.
You mentioned a good point that, if we go to another ASEAN country, we expect the same. Because to me, up to now, Cambodia has been on the receiving end.
Right.
I think now the young entrepreneur is in a position to also go in the ASEAN. Look at Monument Book. You go to Laos, you go to Myanmar, they're there. Asilida, the bank.
Yeah, Akleda Bank.
Yes, Akleda Bank.
They opened a rep office in Myanmar now.
Yes, exactly.
They're in Laos now.
See.
So we have Cambodia expanding to
That's
the world.
it.
And
So
that is a happy thing.
that's a happy
For
thing.
a patriot like you, that's a happy one.
Yes. So this is where we have to inculcate in our business environment a certain level of transparency, of eco-fairness, because we reach a point where we would want that when we go to another country. We want to have that fairness.
I like to see proud to be Cambodian.
Yes.
When Cambodians come to Indonesia or other places in ASEAN or around the world, to New York, to be an exporter of the culture. And hey, come to my country.
Yes.
It's an investment climate there. You can you can bring money here. You can train people. You can do a lot of things. So so this is like a marvelous opportunity.
Yes. Stuart, you're the business editor of Phnom Penh Post. I read with great pleasure your Hennessy success story. You're doing an awesome job to extract out the people that they never see themselves as any local hero in business, right? But you bring the best out of them, and you're able to share that success story to others. How do you come up with that idea?
Well, it's more than one way to skin a cat. You could talk about a merger between big companies, Exxon and Mobil or something, and then you could call that business news, and that is business news, and it's worthy and it's relevant.
Yes.
But this is Cambodia, and Cambodia is developing, and Cambodia went through a hard pass. And so what I think is going to be the salvation of Cambodia is not examples from other countries necessarily, but homegrown stories of triumph against the odds.
Yes.
When you want to read a book or you want to watch a movie, you don't want to watch a rich guy in a hotel room flipping channels. It's boring. They already got everything. What you want is a struggle, a real difficult struggle of overcoming odds. And this society is full of those stories. You're one of those stories.
Yes, yes.
And these are wonderful stories, and they're emotional, they're poignant, and they're resonant. And when you get through a story like that, and you're able to, like the fellow who runs Frangipani Hotels, he was, his father died, he was a boy.
He was my student.
Was he your student?
Years ago.
Yes, he's a wonderful fellow.
Yes.
And his mama raised him, and he didn't have shoes for a while, and then he invented this model of a 10-year leasing and then buying back the properties, and now he's got 5 hotels all over. He employs a lot of people. He doesn't he makes it special that we don't do sex tourism in our properties, and that's a passion for him. So all of his properties are that way, and so that's one example. So if you show these in the newspaper of how people triumph, you give them the possibility that I can do that too.
Yes, exactly.
And that's better than an envelope full of cash.
Yes.
That's better.
Yes.
Because what's inside you is your greatest potential.
Yes.
Money is just a way of keeping score.
Yes. And you see what you're doing in that Hennessy business success story is that you emulate, you enable other people who never look to themselves that they are doing something great, and yet they are. When they start reading this story, say, wait a minute,
that's me, I did it.
I did it, but I never knew I did it, right? And if we are able to replicate inside 1,000 young Cambodian businessmen who feel like this, our society will be a better, fast-moving, economic, thriving, competitive society.
You raise an important point. We don't know what we are until we have others to show us.
Yes.
Similarly, I encourage all Cambodians to travel, even to neighboring countries, and travel abroad.
Yes.
Because this has helped me tremendously in my life, is traveling.
Yes.
Just get on an airplane and go, even if you don't have enough money. Go for it.
Yes.
Because then you'll see other people, you'll see other systems, and this will define you, and
Yes.
you can bring them back home,
Yes.
and you can really expand your mind. There's a tendency to think that the world is big and insurmountable, and it all belongs to somebody else. That's just not true.
Yes.
The
Yes.
world will yield to you
Yes.
according to your commitment and according
Yes.
to your speaking.
Yes.
And you can really be.
I
You
think-
could take somebody poor from the province who has nothing,
Yeah.
and with the right moves and the right attitude, he can be a multimillionaire global. No question.
Stuart, you know, I know you are a great follower of, you know, Professor Chomsky. You know, how does it affect your thinking in, because you see, let's face it, since you came to Phnom Penh Post, you have brought many different dimensions that we haven't seen in Phnom Penh Post before, which is more, you know, the sort of business story, a special report on a certain sector. You did an awesome job for when we had the ASEAN Summit. You interviewed people from all walks of life, how they see ASEAN,
Take
from
it easy,
leader.
I'm not that good.
No, but no, still, it has a big impact during the summit. People are reading, and they, of course, they used to see ministers speaking. They know that, but they want to hear from a rank and file, a local businessman. You know, how do they perceive ASEAN, right?
Yeah. Well, I have to say, you know, with Professor Chomsky, it's just one of a bunch of good teachers in my life, and one of the most important. And it's the discipline. It's the discipline of morality. What's true for me is true for you. So if I walk out in the world and I behave differently because you have more money, you know, and we're all guilty of it to some extent, but it's nice to have discipline about it. If you can be enough of a philosopher and internalize your philosophy enough that even if somebody is completely different from you, an African from Zimbabwe, or a German or a Chinese or anybody who's very different from you, and you treat them very fair and very even and very same, regardless of money, regardless of religion, regardless of background. That takes discipline, and it's not easy because we all have comfort zones around us. It's our family, we're Khmer people, right? Or we're, see what I mean? And so, they're not us. So if you really discipline yourself and you're able to treat people universally, what's true for you is also for me. A lot of problems disappear. The possibility. Take war. You don't kill your customers. War is not good business. Right? It's much more powerful than to treat someone with bullets, is to treat them with commerce and interface. It's much more powerful. You know, it's weak, and that goes way, way back.
Stuart, you know, I see one thing that I noticed, because I do give a lot of speech and talk a lot to the young entrepreneur, you know, in different sector. And the one thing that I see as a growing trend is related to something that you mentioned about, you encourage people to travel, even though they go on backpack, right? They come back with exposure. And what I see in the last 5 or 6 years, right? And this is thanks also to many of the good program of the donor, the development partner, who gave a scholarship to Cambodian young and brightest to study in Japan, in Australia, in the US, in France.
I agree. They did a beautiful thing.
They come back exposed. And what I see that exposure now translated into concrete, actual, thriving business, where
you've seen it applied.
I see it applied, and I see it applied in a thing that 10 years ago I would never expect that. When we negotiate the WTO, for us as negotiator, we want to establish a rule base. We want to establish a transparency base where we know that a certain, you know, policy will not change because of the vagaries of a particular minister, right? But the one thing I did not expect is that the fast application by these young, you know, intellectual returning, who now open a nice coffee shop, 4 or 5 months ago, the second, the third, the fourth, and you see them thriving.
What you see is the payoff is exponential. And so we're talking about changing the human mind. And when you change, so that's the frontier. The frontier is the mind. So forget about the systems for a minute, and all the buildings and all the electricity and all that. Forget about for a minute. Take the population and then take them from a little bit poor and backwards into I can do it. I can do it now. And that investment is what you're talking about. And it didn't seem like it at the time. You know, they just went off on a scholarship or they went off here and there, and you didn't get immediate returns. But when you saw what happened over time, you saw the returns blossom into much greater than you would have predicted.
You see, and as a legal practitioner, where, you know, occasionally I do practice law when I'm not helping the government, you know, what I find is a paradigm shift in a way of doing business, in a way of thinking, where now they're looking at rule-based. They want to pay tax, right? Hey, you know, amazing, because they see that by paying tax, they have a record. They have a record, and that record is proof that 4 or 5 years down the road, when they want to go list their company in stock exchange, they say, hey, my company has value. I did so much business. That's why it's not them talking. It's the tax document that show the volume of the business.
Right.
It's the actual, you know, corporate board resolution.
And that also
everything.
reduces corruption too, because you have a paper trail for everything.
Exactly.
So when they come in to get money from you, you can say, yes, I can give you the money, but I want a receipt.
Exactly.
And they'll do one or two things. They'll either go away, or they'll give you a receipt, which means that maybe you're likely to get your money is actually going somewhere.
And you see, to me, this is the foundation to prepare them to welcome foreign capital. Because when foreign capital come, they're looking for a local partner. And when they look at the local partner, they look at local partner who play by the rules.
Exactly. So the rule, so the lesson of what you're saying, Siphana, is if you're a Cambodian businessman and you want to have foreign partners, rich foreign partners, to help you develop your dreams, and they need you, be transparent. Start putting in the systems that will make you attractive.
Make it as an investment for your own future. Because the immediate return is that you, of course, you know, like any state, right? No state can function without tax receipt. That's how they use the money to build hospital, road, everything, right? So, but tax is still quite something new in our country. Let's face it, we start from scratch. The tax law came about in late 1990s. By the time they get implemented, it's only for the big corporation. But more and more I see the emerging young Cambodian entrepreneur. And I want to inculcate that spirit, that notion, that principle that when you pay tax, you're a good citizen. You're a good corporate citizen. You contribute to the development of your own country. Because let's face it, Stuart, in a few years' time, as Cambodia, you know, become not anymore a least developed country, we become a middle-income country. There'll be less aid to the country. And where's the cover of revenue we come from? We'll be coming from the business community. And to me, it is a moral duty as a national. You know, it's a corporate duty to pay tax. But at the end of the day, it's a good investment for them.
I think absolutely right in the case of Cambodia, that and they can also feel ownership when they do, and then they can stand with their hands on their hips and start making some demands. Hey, say, hey, I paid the money. Now, you know, I want you. I don't want you to waste it.
Yes.
And that's a strong feeling because they earned the money.
So, in the work that you do a lot of special report. You cover a lot of economic sector. Where do you see the gap, the need, particularly from foreign investors? They come to countries. Oh my God, I need that information. I don't know where to get it. How you know you
What's
do
the source of information?
You know, but how do you do something to provide that sense of, you know, because transparency comes from information, right? You see, does Phnom Post have anything in mind that eventually you want to do something like that?
We're working on a number of new information products, investment guides and reviews. And our Khmer language side is growing and developing. We're changing that for the better and making it more independent. Our English language is thriving. It's the flagship. And our associates also own Myanmar Times. And so there's some good cross between the two. Cambodians visiting Myanmar from our team, Myanmar people coming over here, and that's really good because the countries are similar in nature, and they really don't have a hostile history. They're quite compatible with each other. So I'd like to see more and more Cambodians exchange with Myanmar. It's good for both.
I think I have to push you further than just Cambodia and Myanmar, because I was in Malaysia for a foreign policy discussion.
I was going to ask you about that.
Foreign policy see discussion with Myanmar delegation, Laos, in my capacity as chairman of CDI, right? Where here we look at, you know, a few years down the road, 2015, I think the missing link is understanding the opportunity in various countries. Understanding, you know, what is available in Myanmar, for example. Because from the business perspective, right? Because you see, the hardest part for Cambodia is that we don't know enough about the other side. They know more about Cambodia. When they fly in, they know exactly what they want from Cambodia. But we, as a recipient, we don't know enough what is out there.
Right. Well, take it from a military standpoint.
Yes.
You know, just for an idea, you never want to be subject to the enemy.
Yes.
In a military scenario,
yes.
what you want to do is offense. Even if you have a smaller force, when you're on the offensive, you have an advantage.
Exactly.
Every military man knows this.
Yes.
Offense is an advantage. Same is true. So what we would like to see is Cambodians going on the offensive, going to other countries, visiting around like you have in KL, and learning more. And then we have, instead of waiting for others to come in and constituting yourself as dealing with others as they come in, go on the offensive and make friends around the region.
Yeah.
Because that's much more powerful.
I call that investment was sort of like targeting.
Yeah.
You know, instead of sitting here and wait for them to come and to discuss with you, we should now. But you see, the beauty of ASEAN now is that you can fly without a visa to many countries in ASEAN now. And so to me is pushing the Cambodian entrepreneur to start identify where would I want my partner to be, rather than sitting and waiting for the potential partner to come. Investment targeting.
Yeah, and that's exactly why Cambodian businessmen, government people at all levels, foreigners who do business here and learn about Cambodia, they can go around too. And then airlines like Air Asia, they fly all over, and you can get very cheap deals on flights around the region. So it's very, very good of gluing this whole area together.
Yes.
You could, you know, if you had a really good idea for a fast food or any kind of a franchise, all across Asia. Why let the existing franchises of the world take over everything?
Yes.
Why not grow one right here and make it local?
Exactly.
Okay.
I think
so. That's cool. Now listen, I want to ask you. I understand you're going to New York City coming up, and I understand you're going to see if you can get a seat on the UN Security Council for Cambodia. Could you tell me more about that?
I think it's a big honor, you know, for Cambodia now. You see, because we never, since we entered the UN system, we never have a seat in the UN Security Council. And I think now the timing is such a way that Cambodia is secure enough, stable enough, politically stable, and I would say, you know, comfortable enough that we want to have a voice in the world stage. And having a seat in the UN Security Council means that we can show that we can contribute back to the world peace, to the world security. You know, when we were on the recipient end for so many years, remember the peace process, had it not been for the UN, we would not have the peace up to today. You know, all the mine that was in Cambodia, you know, Cambodia demined them. But we demined so many mines that we become expert in demining. Now we're taking that experience
Cambodians
to have
around the
country.
world.
Yes.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
So we take an ugly situation and we blossom it into something beautiful and service to others.
Yes. And we want to be, you know, an active global citizen to say to the rest of the world, to say that now we have been receiving so long, we are grateful, but it's time that we give back to the world. And that effort to lobby a seat for a UN Security Council non-permanent seat for 2013-14, to me, fundamentally, psychologically, is important for Cambodia.
You know what you should tell them, too, is the two Koreas are here, and they're both here almost larger than they are anywhere else. So Cambodia is special in this regard. You see North Korean restaurants here. Now, the Korean peninsula has a lot of tensions on it, right?
Yes.
But they're both here. So there's whatever the case is, there's a possibility for some openings in exchange. Cambodia, if you look at it geographically, you can see Vietnam, you can see Thailand, Malaysia, around, and Laos to the north, and you can see a geographic possibility
Yes.
of being a broker for the region, of being a hub for the region.
And
to
why
be,
not?
And why not? I
And
mean,
why
that's,
not?
that's a good role for Cambodia.
Yes.
So that should be your argument.
Yes. Oh,
Say
yes,
Cambodia
yes,
can
Wish me
bring
luck.
people to the table. Good luck,
Wish me
Siphana.
luck. Yes.
And you'll be gone for a month in New York?
For 20 days, and then next month another 20 days.
And I understand there are 2 other countries that are vying
Yeah,
for this.
South Korea and Bhutan will be up against them.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't
Yes.
mention the Koreas then.
It's okay. It's okay. But at the end of the day, all I'm saying is that Cambodia is in the world stage now. And we will stake our spot in the world stage, you know, and that's how the future of Cambodia should be. An active regional player, an active global player.
I agree. Now I want to ask you a question about the superpowers. You look at China and the United States and the things like the South China Sea, and you see a lot of, jockeying around. I mean, at the close of World War II, the U.S. really was the preeminent global
Yes.
power. Now the Soviet Union collapsed
Yes.
in the early 90s, which had profound changes on Cambodia, and then now we have China,
Yes.
increasingly, integrated with the rest of the world, investing everywhere and so on. And so have you seen in your role as advisor to the government some of the consequences of these jockeying maneuvers between the superpowers?
I think yes, of course, the tool is there, but I can say that from the perspective of Cambodia, we need both sides. We need both. Cambodia is a small country. ASEAN centrality is everything. We want China as an economic, thriving, a contributor to regional prosperity, but we also would want the other development partner like the U.S., like the EU, like Japan, So I think at the end of the day, the water will settle, and the idea is that how do we play that active role to bring together all this regional force, for the betterment of society and humanity. Stuart,
Well
we're
said.
coming to the end of the show. Any last word?
Well, I just want to say that good luck to you in New York, and thank you for your negotiation of the World Trade Organization agreement in Geneva, because a lot of the work that you did, we have benefits now that we don't even notice, and all these businesses springing up. That's the hard work you and the government did, and hats off to you and the government for doing this
Yes.
this very important work and now taking it to the next step. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Stuart. Well, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end, and I'm just happy that we have this quick discussion with Stuart on such a broad topic, on entrepreneurship, rule-based, ASEAN economic community, the Cambodia, positioning for a seat in the UN Security Council, non-permanent seat. So many things happening in this country, and I'm so glad that you, as an active, actor in the Cambodian society, will contribute to the development of our country. So once again, Stuart, thank you so much, and I look forward to see you, to read more of your successful Hennessy success story.
Thank you, Siphana. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Okay.